What's going on, guys? Back with another video. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard now about Tamara Lich and Chris Barber, who are looking at a 7 to 8 year prison sentence for their role in the Freedom Convoy. That, of course, happened back in 2022 with the whole mandates. It was an anti-mandate protest. I'm sure you guys all remember that too, and appreciated everyone who was involved. Of course, it was slandered as a violent, racist somehow protest, which it was not. And there's been a lot of talk lately since the news dropped about the Crown wanting to give these ridiculous sentences about Pierre Poilievre being completely silent on the issue. Mr. Sunshine and Clyde specifically have been really calling Pierre Poilievre out. And I gotta admit, guys, as much as I do like Pierre Poilievre, and as much as I don't have that many criticisms for him, I completely agree with Clyde and Mr. Sunshine here, because you gotta say something when something like that happens. So I got this post here from Vesper. Pierre was defending the truckers way before this statement today, folks. Let's get this straight. Now, what statement from today is he talking about? Well, Pierre Poilievre finally said, let's get this straight. Well, rampant violent offenders are released hours after their most recent charges and anti-Semitic rioters vandalize businesses, terrorize daycares, and block traffic without consequences, the Crown wants 7 years prison time for the charge of mischief for Lich and Barber. How is this justice? Now, I was very happy to see this. Clyde was clearly also happy to see this. So was Mr. Sunshine. So I think it's all good in the gang again. And, you know, a lot of people will criticize Pierre Poilievre because he's too careful. Now, I get that, but I also understand he's got to be careful because Canadian voters are very fickle, and they actually hold the Conservative Party accountable. They don't do that with the Liberal Party for some reason, but they do with the Conservatives, so he's got to be very careful. Now, it became very clear that people like me, Clyde, Mr. Sunshine, etc., who were not happy with the fact that Pierre was silent on this. So I'm really glad that he finally said something. It was needed to be said, and he needs to be vocal about this issue because it's very wrong. So I'm going to play this video here from, this is back in 2022, I believe, of Pierre Poilievre supporting the trucker convoy, as a lot of people who criticized him about this said he never did. Well, yes, he did. He did at the very beginning. Now, before I get into this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help grow the channel, guys, and I really, really appreciate you guys doing that for me. It really means a lot. So let's have a look at this video.
It is to divide and conquer. The Prime Minister has created a new emergency. What is his motivation? Of course, it is to divide and conquer.
These past 2 years, the COVID mandates have divided us.
How did this all start? Well, let's remember, the Prime Minister suddenly imposed a brand new vaccine mandate on the very truckers who had been free to travel across borders without a vaccine.
We are therefore calling on all levels of government in Canada to end all COVID mandates and restrictions. We will continue our protest until we see a clear plan for their elimination.
And he did it at a time when provinces and countries around the world were removing vaccine mandates.
As of today, Sweden, Denmark, UK, Norway, Finland, Ireland, and Switzerland have removed all COVID mandates and restrictions.
He did it to a group of people who are by far the least likely to transmit a virus because they work and sleep all by themselves 22 hours a day. The Prime Minister, in spite of all of these facts, brought in this new mandate to deprive people of their living. Why? Because he knew that it would spark in them a sense of desperation. If he could deprive them of their incomes, they would be so desperate that they would have to rise up and protest, and then he could further demonize them and call them names and attack their motives and belittle them and dehumanize them in order to galvanize the majority against the minority. This must be the political opportunity that his Deputy Prime Minister spoke about when she described what COVID represented to this government. This power goes beyond any of the protests and or blockades the Prime Minister claims to want to address. For example, it will allow governments and banks to seize people's bank accounts and money for donating to the wrong political cause. One journalist asked the Justice Minister if small sums donated, for example, to support an end to vaccine mandates could get someone's bank account frozen. He didn't deny it. Instead, he said such people who make donations of that kind should be, quote, very worried. To freeze someone's bank account is not just an attack on their finances, but on their personal security. If your bank account is frozen, you can't buy food, you can't buy fuel, you can't pay your children's daycare fees, and you can, under this law, face that personal attack without being charged with a single solitary crime.
Remember how absurd that was? And Pierre's absolutely right here. I mean, that's absolutely disgusting. People donated to the protest, had their bank accounts suspended or frozen, whatever you want to call it, and yet they weren't even charged. They weren't even criminals. How could you possibly do that? Justin Trudeau should be spending a lot of time in jail right now for doing that. Oh, and by the way, just in case some of you didn't know, guess who was the advisor behind Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland, who told them to freeze people's bank accounts? I bet you'll never guess. I'll give you one guess. Go. If you said Mark Carney, you'd be right. And a lot of conservative Liberal swing voters went back to Mark Carney without this knowledge. They don't know that. Absolutely disgusting. But then again, you had even these so-called conservatives, which I don't even call them conservatives, I don't know what they are, who agreed with all these mandates. I know people personally who were... This is why politics is kind of confusing, because how could you be a conservative and agree with laws like that? They didn't care. They wanted you to do what the government told you under punishment of having your bank accounts frozen, because they wanted to get on with their lives. They were willing to comply so much and so hard that they were demonizing other people, and they were happy when the government froze people's bank accounts. That is sick. It's disgusting. And Justin Trudeau should be in jail probably for the rest of his fucking life for doing that. At the very least, he should be he should have been thrown out. He should have been put in jail, charged, fined, whatever. That dude's a criminal, straight up. And here we are 3 years later, and he gets to walk away free. Not a single day in prison. But yet, Litch and Barber, they might do 8 years for organizing a protest. And the propaganda that fell, and the fact that so many people believed it, really just put a dent on my faith in humanity altogether. How could people be so stupid? Well, you know, they had ties to white supremacy. Which ties? To which group? Oh, because a bunch of people showed up with Nazi flags wearing masks? And they weren't even part of the group. They were standing away, and the truckers were yelling at them to leave. And then Justin Trudeau's photographer started taking pictures of these people, these so-called Nazis, which we don't have in Canada. When have you ever seen Nazis before or after this protest? Never. And considering you're not allowed to have that paraphernalia in this country, why were they not arrested? Because they were fucking plants. I understand some of you don't like when I swear, and I try not to, but this is ridiculous. Sometimes I just gotta speak my mind and say whatever the hell I want to say. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings. I'm sorry if the kids are around. But this is absurd, and it was illegal. And they got it. Not only did they get away with it, they got reelected. And the guy who advised it is the new prime minister. You can say whatever you want about, well, you know, Americans aren't that smart. No, Canadians, some Canadians, not all, of course. There's almost 8 million people who got it right. But the rest are absolutely the dumbest people this world has to offer. If you actually believe that what happened, or what's happening to Chris and Tamara right now, is anywhere close to being justified, you're an evil person. Or you're just really naive and you believe everything you hear, which could turn you into an evil person. Indoctrination is powerful. But yet it was apparently us who were indoctrinated. I don't ever want to see people's bank accounts get frozen. There was a BLM protest here in Hamilton a couple years ago. They blocked off King Street. King Street is a major road here in Hamilton. Ambulances, police officers couldn't get through to serve their community. Did their bank accounts get frozen? Were they hauled off to jail? Are they looking at a sentence of 7 to 8 years? No, because it was politically correct. That's what the Liberal government agreed with, so you were allowed. And then when you did something they disagreed with, it was absolute tyranny and authoritarianism. And it's disgusting, it's illegal, and the fact that nothing's happening is sick. What else do you even say? I mean, it's just so ridiculous. They should not have to spend a single second in a prison cell. And if that's the new standard, fine. Then do it to everybody. Well, you know, it's not fine. But my point is, if that's the standard, do it to everybody. But it's clearly not, because it's illegal. And there's so many Canadians who just turned their back, didn't care. I want everyone to get a vaccine. And I agree with the mandates. There should have never been a mandate in the first place. Remember, Liberals, my body, my choice, right? You idiots. All those nurses who got fired. Oh, now there's a nursing shortage. Oh, go figure. I wonder why. You see how dumb these people? Like, it's unbelievable. Like, Canada has an insane amount of stupid people living here, and that's why we've got a fourth Liberal term. And you have people who, to this day, yeah, that was, they can't do that. That was illegal. I can't believe they blocked off roads. And then you see, like what's that protest that happens a lot in Europe, too? The Just Stop Oil protest, I think it's called. They block roads all the time. BLM. Remember Chaz and the Summer of Love and what was going on in Minnesota? All those riots? Nothing happened. But yet in Canada, if you disagree with the government and you protest against their mandates, they'll freeze your bank account. What a sick and twisted country we live in, and this is why people don't take this country seriously anymore, and that's why they call it a banana republic, because of shit like this. But you know what? I'm going to stop this rant just to be polite to you guys. It's been long enough. Please let me know what you think, though. I'm really curious to hear your comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back shortly with a new one.